They say, whoever they are, they say that hindsight is 2020. 2020 vision is a term used to describe normal vision. In other words, you can see clearly those things which are 20 feet away. Well, looking behind me at 2020, I would not describe what I see as normal. And I'm barely even beginning to gain some clarity of vision on all that we have been through. For weeks now, people have been expressing their desire to see the back of 2020. There was a kind of collective eagerness to have 2020 behind us. Surely 2021 has got to be better than the year that we have just experienced. The coronavirus pandemic, with its endless lockdowns and quarantines, overshadowed and even intensified the economic and environmental crises with which 2020 began. Goodbye and good riddance to the old year. And let's just ring in this new year hoping that 2021 will be better. But there wasn't enough champagne in any of our celebrations to fool us into believing that a new calendar year is going to solve anything at all. Here we are, 2020 behind us, and 2021 stretching out before us, and still we are being warned over and over again that the darkest months of this pandemic are still to come. Yes, there are vaccines on the horizon, but we still don't really know when or how this pandemic is going to end. We do know that it's going to take a long time before we can gather together, take off our masks, and embrace one another again. Today is the 10th day of Christmas, so there are only 2 days left to celebrate the arrival of what the anonymous gospel storyteller, which we call John, heralds as the light which shines in the darkness, a light that the darkness has never overtaken. On Wednesday, the celebration of Epiphany will take over where Christmas leaves off, and I can't help but wonder about the nature of the light which will illumine our darkness. As we embark on what promises to be a very dark winter, my spirit resonates with the myth which has brought comfort and challenges to generations. I feel a bit like those wisdom seekers of old, trudging through the darkness with nothing but the promise of light to guide me as I look over my shoulder, convinced that Herod is still chasing me. But unlike the three wise guys, I know where this story is going. I know that the light is guiding them to the most unlikely of saviors. No mighty king, no avenging warrior, no powerful potentate, not even a magic genie who could grant their wishes, just a helpless newborn which has barely begun to draw breath. And yet it is this very breath from which our ancestors drew hope. Over and over again, from one generation to the next, a helpless tiny child has been heralded as the light of the world. Looking back beyond 2020 to a hindsight which surveys generations, I can almost see clearly into that stable of old, to see the breath of that child rising up and up and up into the cold winter, offering the hope that we are not alone in the darkness. Emmanuel is the name our ancestors gave to express this hope. The divine mystery, the creator of all that is, Emmanuel, God with us. It's cold out here, but winter has only just begun, and it's going to get a lot colder. This lake, it will freeze, and soon I will be able to walk out onto the ice if I dare to brave the elements. Now, there's a story which I've often thought about when I'm trying to find the courage to venture out into the cold darkness of winter. It is a story which ought to be told out here under the overcast skies which are pregnant with snow. It's about Admiral Richard Byrd, who was an explorer who traveled into the frozen north seeking wisdom. Listen to what Byrd wrote when he was just approaching the North Pole. Byrd writes, "I paused to listen to the silence, and my breath crystallized as it passed my cheeks and drifted on a breeze gentler than a whisper. My frozen breath hung like cloud overhead. The day was dying, the night was being born, but with great peace. Here were the imponderable processes and forces of the cosmos, harmonious and soundless. Harmony. That was it. That was what came out of the silence, a gentle rhythm, the strain of a perfect chord. It was enough to catch that rhythm momentarily, to be myself a part of it. In an instant, I could feel no doubt of humanity's oneness with the universe. The conviction came that rhythm was too orderly, too harmonious, too perfect to be the product of a blind chance, that therefore there must be purpose in the whole, and that humanity was part of that whole and not an accidental offshoot. It was a feeling that transcended reason. The universe was a cosmos, not a chaos. Humanity was rightfully a part of that cosmos, as were the day and the night." Admiral Byrd paused to listen to the rhythm of the silence, and his own breath opened him to the revelation of the Divine One, who lies at the very heart of our being. We don't need to travel to the North Pole. We don't even need to follow a star. We don't even need to venture out onto some thin ice. We need only to pause for a moment so that we can see, feel, touch, and know the Divine One we call God, who comes to us in the rhythm of our breath and in the guise of a helpless baby. The one we seek, the one who has the power to save us, the one who lies at the very heart of our being, the one we call God, is Emmanuel, with us, living and breathing in, with, through, and beyond us. Yes, it is cold, and there is darkness all around us, and Herods aplenty. But the days have already began to grow longer. The good news, dear friends, is that between us, we have the wisdom necessary to outwit any Herod, whether that Herod be a pandemic or the grief which this pandemic has wrought. Follow the light wherever the light may lead us, for there is wisdom in the stars just as surely as there is wisdom in you. Deep beneath the snow are the beginnings of new growth. Spring will come. Deep within you lives the spirit of wisdom. So breathe deeply of the love which is the mystery that we call God. Breathe deeply of the one who is light and love and Emmanuel with us. Breathe deeply of the wisdom within, and we shall be the light of the world. Thanks be to all that is holy. Amen.
We hope that you have found this broadcast to be of value to you at this time. To continue to offer these, we depend on the support of donors. If you wish to help to keep us going, please donate what feels right for you via Canada Helps to Holy Cross Lutheran Church, Newmarket. Peace be with you.